to call to order this meeting of the Salem Housing Authority for November 10th. If the recorder would please call a roll.
Commissioner Tessler?
Present.
Commissioner Nanke? Commissioner Clausen? Commissioner Dickey is being represented by guest Commissioner Don Russo.
Here.
Commissioner Rogers? Commissioner Bernards?
Here.
Commissioner Clem?
Here.
Commissioner Heine? And Chair Bennett.
Here. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have no one signed up for public comment. Is there anyone who wanted to address the Housing Authority? Okay. Commissioner Nanke, the consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
Are there any questions? Mr. Welch is not here this evening. Mr. Wales will answer all of your questions tonight. Did you have anything you wanted to share with us in your information report?
No, I can just share that just filling in some of the gaps on the program report. Mr. Welch asked me just to share that give a quick update on the Parkway East and Parkway West projects. They're doing very well. We have already met the targets for this year as far as our investors getting their tax credits for the number of units that we've completed. We're on schedule to complete all of them this year. The only thing that may slide into next year is some of the painting on two of the buildings on Parkway East, excuse me, because of the weather. We have been delayed in finishing the outside, but we're on schedule to finish all of that, including Robert Lindsay Tower. And he wanted to extend an invitation to any of you or all of you that would like to come and see the finished result, and any new councilors or commissioners that would be welcome to join as well. So we'll be contacting you to schedule that.
Great. Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Nanke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a reminder that we got an email on helping out with the Thanksgiving feast over at Englewood, and myself and my wife will be over there again as well. It's always fun. Encourage people to respond, and I'll be at Englewood West.
Englewood West. I was looking at Englewood East. I've done that a couple of times too. It's really enjoyable. It's a very pleasant evening. All right. All those in favor of the consent calendar, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. And we have no further business. We are adjourned.
Pretty wonderful gavel
There you go.
there. Show it off now.
All right, I would like to call to order this evening's meeting of the Urban Renewal Agency for the City of Salem for November 10th, 2014. Would the recorder please call the roll?
Board Member Bennett?
Here.
Board Member Tessler?
Present.
Board Member Nanke?
Here.
Board Member Clausen? Board Member Dickey will be represented by guest Counselor Russo.
Here.
Board Member Rogers? Board Member Bernards?
Here.
Board Member Clem?
Here.
Chair Peterson?
Here, thank you. Do we have any reports of boards and commissions this evening?
No, Mayor.
No. All right, and public comment. We have one individual signed up, Emil Graziani. Would you like to please approach the podium? And 3 minutes, and it's up when the red light goes on.
Thank you,
Welcome.
Madam Mayor. City Council members, my name is Emil Graziani. I live at 1189 Reese Hill Road, Salem Southeast. And I'm here on behalf of the Friends of Two Bridges, along with the company of our board president, Hazel Patton. The other board members are Doug Parham, Ellen Miller, Alex Sanchez, Dino Vinti, Susan Gallagher, and Don Galilee. Oops, I keep pronouncing that name wrong. I just, before I go into my comments, I also want to acknowledge the support that we received for staff, both Andy Gorski and John Wales through this process. We've been in existence for almost 8 years, I believe, working first on the railroad bridge from Riverfront to Wallace, and now picking up the activities around the bridge, Minnow Bridge from Riverfront to Meadow Park. In front of you are fundraising packets. We want to talk about those in a few minutes. But you may be asking yourself, why does Friends of Two Bridges taking on raising dollars for a bridge that the city has already identified the required funds for? And two reasons come to my mind. The first one is that in all of our grant applications the city submitted, they pledged support from the local community. And we want to fulfill that promise that the staff made in those grant applications. But the second reason, I think the most important reason, one that excites me and why I stepped up to the plate on this, was that people want to participate in this project. They want to be part of this project. My wife and I bought one of the first benches in this project, and we're very pleased about that. So we believe that there's others that want to do that, and we've actually got some great results already, and we haven't really publicized our efforts fully at this point, waiting for the bridge to be announced in January, the contract award. In your report, you see that we've raised $40,000. Well, that's only about half of what we have pledged. We have sold, of the 3 bike racks part of this project, we've sold all 3 of those. We've sold 5 and maybe 6 of the benches, the 12 benches that were in the project. Hazel has purchased one of the signs. The tribes have asked for up to 4 of those signs, so half of the signs are already called for. Mid-Valley Garbage and Recycling Association is picking up the trash receptacles for all 5 of those. Our mayor has also pledged, I believe, $10,000, but I might be short on that. I think it was 14.
Well,
I think she's going to come up
we're
with
trying
14.
to check our memories.
And I'm going to bring this to a close.
It's
People
there.
are participating. What's in front of you, though, is an opportunity for you to participate. We'd love to sell you a bench. We'd love to sell you a overlook, which we think is really, if the council went together, maybe they could participate in that. Anyway, I want to say thank you for supporting us. We're eager to move our fundraising program ahead. To date, I think we're somewhere around 90,000 of the 200,000 that we're going to shoot for. I'll stop there.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Are there questions from counselors, from agency members? Well, congratulations, and congratulations, Hazel. Will you please stand, Hazel? I know you like to sort of stay in the background, but Hazel Patton is so often a driving force for so many good works in Salem. Thank you so much for your leadership, and Emil, thank you for all your hard work on this. Really appreciate that. We're a fortunate city to have citizens that volunteer and step up the way they do again and again. All right, the next thing on our agenda is actually our consent calendar. And Member Bennett, do you have a motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I move the consent calendar.
It's been moved by Member Bennett and seconded by Member Nanke to approve the consent calendar. All those in favor, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Councilor Benars, you have a comment?
Yeah, I'd like to abstain from the minutes from approving the minutes from October 27th because I was not here at that meeting.
Oh, all right. Thank you. Is there further comment? All right. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries with the abstention by Councilor Benard, by Member Benars. All right. And you see in your packet also the information reports from Friends of Two Bridges.
Madam Mayor.
And then, yes,
Sorry.
Member Bennett. Member Bennett, yes, thank you.
Yes, okay, thank you. Madam Mayor, I wanted to just note that we have an addition to our agenda, which is attachment 1 to the staff report, and I would move that that be attached to the,
I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
I didn't either, but I just did. I just spotted it.
Oh. Meaning the map that we have, right?
Res.
I've
So
got
it's
the right
part
one
of
in
the,
front of me. Okay.
and I just move that that be attached to 5A.
To 5A. All right, thank you. Is there a second? It's been moved by Member Bennett and seconded by Member Nanki to approve the addition, deletion, revision item of 5A. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, under the information reports, I just wanted to draw your attention to the West Salem Business District Plan update to say for a moment how much we appreciate the service of the individuals who are serving on the West Salem Urban Renewal Advisory Board, and thank them for the work that they do. They meet, I think, monthly, every other month. I think right now they're going to go to quarterly meetings. But we certainly do appreciate their service and their recommendations and concern and work. All right, thank you. Yes, Councillor Clem.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. A reminder for anybody interested, Wednesday, 4:30 to, believe 6:30 or 7, Annie? 6:30. 4:30 to 6:30 at the West Salem Library. The West Salem Rots. I'll get something right here. The members of the public and businesses in West Salem will have a chance to review the West Salem Business District Plan, just to see the progress report and to give us their opinions and ideas about how we redevelop Edgewater, Wallace, Glen Creek area, particularly with the new intersection there. So please be invited Wednesday, the 12th of November, 4:30 to 6:30 at West Salem Rots, to come take a look at how we're dreaming and putting some realistic planning into how we can create more business, more jobs, more opportunities to shop right in West Salem. So y'all are invited.
Wonderful, thank you. And I will say also, in addition to that, go and look at that plan and talk with staff and consider service on the West Salem Urban Renewal Advisory Board. We have some openings, and it really is a very exciting area of Salem because of the planning and the work that's coming forward and the work that's been done already. So we want people to keep that in their minds as well. Okay, we have no special orders of business nor unfinished business or hearings for the Urban Renewal Agency, and we will be adjourned. All right, I'm going to call to order this evening's meeting of the Salem City Council for Monday, November 10th, 2014. Would the recorder please call the roll?
Councillor Bennett?
Here?
Councillor Tessler?
Present.
Councillor Nanki?
Here.
Councillor Clausen?
Here.
Councillor Dickey is being represented by guest Councillor Don Russo.
Present.
Councillor Rogers? Councillor Benars?
Here.
Councillor Clem?
Here.
Mayor Peterson?
Here, thank you. Right. Now I see that we do have additions, deletions, and revisions. Councillor Bennett, do you have a motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I move approval of additions and deletions to the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved by Councillor Bennett and seconded by Councillor Benars to approve the addition of item 7D to the meeting agenda. Are there any questions? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. All right. We have a proclamation this evening. I believe Councillor Clem has the proclamation, do you?
I do. Thank you,
Good.
Madam
Wonderful.
Mayor.
Thank you.
If it's okay with you, I'll just read it from here.
Yes, that would be fine.
Just wanted to ask those of you here in the room, how many folks have a family member who's a veteran anywhere in your family? Yeah, this is one of those days that touches all of us, as many of the holidays do, but this was originally Armistice Day from the end of World War I and changed in 1926 and 1954. by the presidents to now be Veterans Day, to honor all veterans of all conflicts. And so this is about, I've done this for several years, and I always think, oh yeah, well, it's just pretty much, the same holiday again. But, every time we come upon this holiday, I just have to reflect on the people who aren't here, the people that in our families and our friends who have served and who aren't here, as well as those who are here. And the best way we can honor those who aren't here is to say thank you to the people who are here, because every one of these men and women will tell you that they represent buddies they lost or people who aren't here. So our country was built on militia, fathers and sons and daughters, and it continues to thrive throughout the world on those same sacrifices made by fathers and sons and daughters and mothers. So with that, I'll go ahead and read the proclamation. I was not able to arrange for a veteran to come down tonight. Please say thank you and do it quickly. A number of our veterans are passing every day. Next year, you should invite yourself to become or participate in some of the 50th anniversary of the end of World War II. That will be coming about in the Capitol Mall area at the Veterans Memorial and throughout the state of Oregon. So we should never forget our veterans. So this isn't the same old thing another year. This is a brand new proclamation, and I'm just as proud of this proclamation as any of the others. Thank a vet. Whereas each year on November 11th, we pause to remember the men and women who throughout history served bravely and selflessly in America's armed forces, preserving our strength and security as a nation. And whereas on Veterans Day, we publicly commemorate the honorable legacy and sacrifices of our veterans, those lost to humankind and those who thankfully are with us today. Whereas America has been blessed with an abundance of such men and women throughout its history who proudly and bravely battled tyranny and oppression in World Wars II, Korea, Vietnam, and even still in the Middle East. And whereas on this Veterans Day, we salute their courage and dedication to the defense of our democracy and the sovereignty of freedom-loving nations around the world. Whereas the nation and the free world are eternally grateful for the contributions of American veterans, men and women, and to the advancement of the cause of honorable world peace. Now, therefore, Anna Peterson, Mayor of the City of Salem, hereby calls upon all citizens to observe November 11th, 2014 as Veterans Day, and asks that the day be observed with appropriate ceremonies in honor of those who have served and are serving to preserve the principles of justice, freedom, and democracy. Dated the 10th of November, Anna Peterson, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Dan. I appreciate you taking such care with that proclamation. It's always an honor to have that proclamation and to remember our veterans. Thank you very much. All right, we're now at that point in our meeting where we have time for council and city manager comments. Are there councilors with comments this evening? Yes, Councilor Clem.
I just can't help myself. Okay, that trail between Glen Creek and a railroad bridge, absolutely wonderful.
Oh.
I mean, just flipping great, because people are on it, they're using it, they're loving it. But as an added bonus, somehow somebody built a trail around the backside of the sports complex with asphalt, all around the backside, and city staff and inmate labor crews maybe went back and cleaned out all that area, which is right next to Pioneer Village, senior housing. And so I ran that this morning, and you can actually go all the way around Wallace Marine Park. Great for Minnow Brown, but great for Wallace, being a full trail system all around the west side of the Wallace Marine Park complex. So you can go from Riverfront Park to West Salem and actually walk all the way around to the ball fields on a nice new improved trail. One's brand new in concrete, looks great with lights and benches and observation points, and the other one is asphalt. But I didn't know about it, and I've discovered it this morning. So very pleased. I'm sure it's a maintenance road or has a practical utility process, but wow, just impressive. So We really do want folks to use our parks and build on the trail system that people want to use, so it's great.
Wonderful.
I can
Yes.
add that it is very heavily used already. I've seen many, many people over there and have been on it myself. It is great.
Wonderful. Other comments? Lord,
I
Counselor
just,
Tessler.
is this,
Yes.
if you go to the softball fields and there's that parking lot, is this a new trail that goes back through the woods?
Now, you're thinking of the east side. On the west side, near Pioneer Village, and then back up around the the western side of the park is all trail.
Okay, so like if you were going to the mail, the post office.
That's
and
right.
Back there.
All
Okay.
back in there is all nice
Oh.
new asphalt paved trail. And they cleaned it all out. You know, it was overgrown and it's the best I've ever seen it. 30 years, so please use the whole park and use the whole trail system because there's new sections.
Wonderful. All right, other comments? Well, in the theme of trails and bridges and parks and expansions to our park, which we had thanks to Bonneville Power, et cetera, Fish and Wildlife last year, I think it was last year, addition to the Minto Brown Island Park, and certainly with Bridge. We have a tremendous opportunity, and that opportunity is to bring about a name for the bridge. It's going to go from Riverfront Park over to Minto Brown Island, and so it's my duty as mayor to create a council committee, subcommittee, that's going to deal with and address the issue of the naming of that bridge. And I'm appointing councilors Bennett, Tessler, Clem, and Dickey to that committee, and they will come back with a recommendation to the council, and I believe in December? Better be in December. Okay, right? All right, I'm naming Councilor Bennett as chair for that committee, and I will rest that in your capable hands, Councilor Bennett. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam
Thank you very
Mayor.
much. All right, other comments or, yes, there we go. All right.
Mayor, I have a couple of
Yes,
things.
you have some things. Thank
Yes,
you.
I wanted to remind council that there's a meeting Wednesday evening, November 12th, here in the council chambers to talk about budget policy direction for next year's budget. It's already that time again. The public, of course, is welcome to come, and our citizen budget committee members have been invited as well. And then, as you know, we're having a funding workshop as part of the EIS process for the third bridge on December 3rd. And Peter Fernandez, our Public Works Director, and Julie Warnke have been working on scheduling an additional meeting that same evening for residents of Salem who maybe can't get away earlier in the day but still want an opportunity to get information and provide their input. So we'll have another evening session that same day.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate that evening session being arranged as well. That's very important to have full input from people. Thank you. All right. We're now going to go to to public comment. And I do have some names on this list. We'll start with Scott Snyder.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and councilors. I'm speaking to you regarding the proposal for seeking funding for startup events. I'm the chairperson for the Cultural Promotion Tourism Advisory Board, and for the last several months, the advisory board has been trying to explore ways that we can expand the scope of organizations that are putting on events in the Salem area, and we're looking at stretching the scope with council's approval to open it up to for a limited amount of money and a limited dollar amount per event for organizations that may not have achieved the 501c3 status at this time, but could be bringing activities to Salem that would enhance our culture and our cultural and historical aspects that we have in Salem. I spoke with Councilor Bennett several years ago. He was the chairperson for our advisory board a long time ago, and had talked about the fact that when he was the chairperson and on the advisory board, they were looking for new events and new things to be able to bring to Salem. And I think everybody in Salem loves the things like the art fair and the World Beat, and you can go down the list. There's some very, very first-class activities that are going on, and but in the vein of trying to expand that and have great activities every weekend, every time that you think about is there something to do in Salem, that there is an option. And so we're looking at, with council approval, having events fill out applications very similar to the events that already are competing for the funding for their events through the city top program. They would go through the same grading process, the same rubric that we have our other events go through, and just vet out the top of the cream of the crop so that we can expand those lists of events. So.
All right, are there questions? Thank you very much. Councilor Tesler.
Can you elucidate further on, what are you thinking here, Scott? Are you thinking more the musical events in the park? What are you thinking here? Tell me what you're thinking.
Well, the advisory board has been wrestling with this for several months, and just looking at the number of cultural heritage type activities or organizations that are out there. It could be a church group. It could be, that would obviously probably be a 501c3, but it could be a group that is trying to show off what they do in their culture and have an event, perhaps in a park, perhaps that they're, in conjunction with another organization. We are looking at probably activities or organizations that may not have the same knowledge base that are groups that are applying on an annual basis for top funding. And so we're incentivizing those new organizations to find a mentor organization or, to help them with the filling out the paperwork and being able to make sure that they're adhering to the city's requirements for funding.
Okay, Councilor Bennett.
Thank you. This is great, Scott. I'm really pleased to hear you doing this. These would be then, the ones that I've remembered in the past that have come through have been ones that maybe had applied and not received their 501c3, or, like you say, just they're not that organized to be a 501c3, but they've got a great idea. I remember one that was a cruise-in down at Riverfront Park when it first opened that Russ Strohmeyer from Mountain Staten had done, but he hadn't made it to the 501c3, but had a great idea. Nobody was making a profit. Right. That's the kind of thing you're looking at.
Exactly, yes. And if we can identify groups that perhaps can be the next, in a number of years, the next art fair, that brings in, we are looking at a cap of up to $2,000 per event, so it's not a lot of risk. We had discussed, having a cap of the number of the types of events that could be funded through this between, if we could get 3 to 5 applicants this year, we think that would be a huge success. It doesn't mean that 3 to 5 would necessarily receive funding because they'd still be competing with the other applicants, but we would be, as I mentioned, giving incentives for people that do have mentor organizations to help them with the just the organization, not that for instance, if World Beat were to sponsor something or mentor, it doesn't mean that World Beat loses out on the ability to apply for their own grants or accepts any real responsibility for the success or failure, but just that they're helping them make sure that they aren't making realized mistakes. So.
Yeah, great.
Good. I particularly liked the fact when I read the staff report that there is a requirement for proper documentation, proper expenditures, proper documentation, proper reporting at the end before funds are actually allocated.
Yes,
I think
so it
that's
would
a
be
very good
identical
idea.
to what the other organizations do. They get reimbursed. They don't get the money up front. So that's a
Right.
good point, Mayor.
Right, and I do think that's important.
Yes.
All right, thank
Yes.
you.
And then
appreciate,
just one more
that.
thing.
Yes.
We are having our mandatory meeting for getting to be eligible for funding next Wednesday. So we are hoping for a decision from the council so that we can have that mandatory meeting on the 19th, and then they'll be getting applications shortly after that. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, and thank you for your service and your leadership for the top board. It really is significant to all of us, and you're doing just a great job.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, Cheryl, is it Witters? Witters, thank you. And that she will be followed by Jerry Ribeiro. Ribeiro, thank you. All right.
Is this?
Oh, welcome, and you have 3 minutes. At the end of 2 minutes, the amber light comes on, and then at the end of the 3 minutes, the red light comes on.
So there's 1 minute from the amber to the red. Okay, great.
Right.
Thank you. I'm a little
Just
out of my
introduce
scope
yourself
here.
and give your address. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Cheryl Witters. I'm a resident of the Edgewater District, and I'm here to give public comment tonight on the agenda item. I think it's 5A. I'm sorry, I don't have my 7C.
7C.
7C, thank you. Where Northwest Human Services has been moving forward with a proposed zone change from single-family residential to commercial retail, which in your agenda states commercial office, but that's not accurate because the planning has it listed otherwise. So I want to draw attention to that first of all. It seems only fitting though that I, before I get to my comments, I have a little brief comment from a neighbor. Seems fitting because he's a veteran, so I'll give some of my time to him. This is, it reads, City Council, my name is Dan Tisdale. I live at 1272 3rd Street, and I do not agree with the zone change proposed by Northwest Human Services. If you have any questions, I can be reached at, and he gives his telephone number and has signed that. Now for my comments, it's been only 2 years since Northwest Human Services has quickly bought 3 properties, built a warehouse, a fancy warehouse, and is now moving forward with some zone changing, making major plans to a comprehensive plan that didn't happen overnight and is meant to be a long-term vision plan over the course of 20, and now it's been longer than that years since there's been any changes. And so as a resident, I'm concerned that there hasn't been enough time given to discuss concerns from the neighborhood. This agenda of Northwest Human Services has moved forward largely in part by the voices of people that don't live in the Edgewater District. And as part of that is because of the demographic. It is low income, and not a lot of people are available to attend meetings at 6:30 when they have kids and dinner and 2 jobs and just not able to represent. So I'm here representing not just myself, but others. To ask that you remove this from the agenda for further discussion in order to address the reduction of housing in an affordable housing area of West Salem, to suggest that they move it to commercial office and not commercial retail, and to change the setback to be a minimum of 10 feet, not the 0 feet that it currently is, and to discuss the possible residential parking on Kingwood Avenue. And just for the record, they do abut my property on 2 areas in addition to the parking in the front of my house. And I think I'm done.
Okay. Are there questions from any of the counselors? All right, thank you very much. Appreciate your testimony.
Thank you.
Were you completed? I don't want to chase you away from the microphone.
Oh, I could
think
talk
your time
forever,
wasn't up.
but you can tell my voice. This is a little.
All right. Yes, Counselor Bennett.
I do have a question. Thank you very much for coming down. You mentioned residential parking on Kingwood. You're thinking of sort of, this is for you have to have a residential permit, or I'm not sure what you meant by that. I want to make sure I understand it.
Just to clarify, I want to have discussion. And so to say absolutely yes, residential parking or no,
okay.
I'm more asking that these are some of the concerns that I have as a neighbor, and I know that I'm not alone, but I'm the only one that's able to come to I can't even come to all of these events, but just due to, I happen to be in a fortunate little season of life that my kids can be home without a babysitter. So anyways, to answer your question, I would like there to be more time to have discussion and get the insights and input from people that actually live in the area on such matters. That's one of my concerns, being that I have to deal with that. Right now, it's still people park in front of my house, but come summertime, we have those beautiful trees that provide a lot of desirable shade. And so it's worse in the summer than it is in the winter, but we still have parking issues. And so that's just one of the issues that I brought up here that I just would like more discussion and feedback before. This is just kind of, I feel a little steamrolled, just kind of moving forward full speed and not feeling like there's adequate and appropriate, fair and balanced input into the discussion.
Do you know if anyone from the immediate neighborhood or anywhere in the neighborhood either contacted the West Salem Neighborhood Association to express concern or came down to the Planning Commission? Do you know? For the hearing, there was a public hearing.
I did.
You
yeah,
did?
I did.
Oh, okay.
But as I mentioned, I sort of feel like the little person that doesn't get heard.
Okay.
A lot of this is being moved forward by people that don't live in the area, and I'm the only one that's been able to come to meetings. I have talked with my neighbors on the weekends, and they like, what do we do? You know, do we write a letter? You know, and I'm kind of like, this is my first rodeo too. I don't know. So I just, I can be there, and I hope you can make it as well. I do go to the neighborhood association as often as I am able, and it's unfortunate that there's a representative, a chair member on the neighborhood association who has outright attacked me without, verbally and on paper without researching facts. And so I don't know that I feel that that's really a safe place for me as a community member to express my concerns when someone in leadership is not really objectively representing the people they're supposed to be serving.
Well, I'm glad you felt safe coming down here.
Well, I'm still very, like out of my comfort zone here. So
I did have one other question. Just finally, you mentioned that this change is from single-family residential, not to commercial office. You said to commercial retail.
yes,
Did I understand that?
That's correct. Yeah, according to the papers from the Planning Commission, that it's on the agenda. It says commercial office, and I think that's a more appropriate zoning for what they're planning to do. But they're making a very drastic change from single-family residential to commercial retail that is right on my property line.
Okay. Thank you.
And there's an overlay in Second Street that already allows them to do in those houses to
Right.
do what they want to do, which is so far billing. But it's very obvious that there's something that's not being put out on the table, and that also concerns me that decisions are being made without all of the information. That clearly there's something in the future that's not being disclosed. And in my mind, I think commercial retail could be a bar in my backyard, and that's a concern for me.
Sure.
So if they just want billing, they can do that with the property as it is, and they don't need to change the zoning. So I'm just concerned that this is happening too fast without these questions being asked.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Appreciate your
that it?
testimony. Appreciate you coming down. I do notice that just in looking at the application process, that it notes that the notice of the proposed comprehensive plan zone change, neighborhood plan zone, let's see, that the notice was, a revised notice was issued on October 2nd, 2014. Was that a notice that you, as an adjacent, do I understand that you are an adjacent property owner?
I am. One property borders me on the side and one borders me on the back of my property.
Okay.
And the revision was, they did a name change on who was filing.
Oh, I see.
It was not a major revision, it was a name change for who filed the
Okay.
papers.
But did you receive the proper notices? I wanted to just be certain
Oh, I do
that you
receive in
did.
the mail, yes, I have received those. And
Okay, so you knew there was a time to testify regarding that with the planning
I
commission?
did testify with the Planning Commission, as I said before. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, I live in a low-income area. I myself am on limited income, and the appeal process is not really in my favor, as it costs $260 for me to appeal that. And
I see.
That's not an option for me.
Right,
So-
I understand. Yeah, okay. All right, thank you very much. I believe there's someone else, the next person to
Mayor.
testify. No, yes? Oh, I'm sorry. Councilor Benars had a question.
Thank you. I'm just to introduce myself. I used to be the chair of the West Salem Redevelopment Advisory Board, and came up with a plan for the redevelopment, or helped come up with a plan for 2nd Street. And I grew up in that neighborhood as well. I don't remember that specific corner of Kingwood and 2nd. Can you refresh my memory on the corner right now? What is right on that corner, and then what would describe the other 2 lots that are next to it?
Yeah, when did you live there?
Many years ago.
So it may have been a baseball field at that time. And then my house and the house next door were moved over from down 22nd, Highway 22 rather, and the lot on the corner was, at least since I've been there, has been 2 different insurance companies, Full Heart and
That's what I thought.
DeVito, Christopher DeVito.
Yeah.
And then the clinic had purchased that from Christopher DeVito in December of 2 years ago. And that's when this kind of started. They bought that property and then bought 1-2 over. And because I suspect because they know what they're trying to do is really a major change, they had to buy the middle one in order to have one piece of property to move forward without opposition. And in fact, they bought that property. It was very run down. Unfortunately, Joni, the owner, has some mental health issues and was a hoarder and didn't really take care of the external property. So they bought the house for $90,000 sight unseen cash offer and gave her 6 months of free rent because they knew that they had to have that middle bridge in order to move forward. And as a side note, I was talking with Joni. I was interested in the property as well. But again, I can't compete.
Yeah. So the main question I had was the 3 lots. One is currently an office building. The other 2 are single-family residences.
The 2 are single-family residents, their houses, and then the Full Heart DeVito Insurance. They built a fancy box with the top on it. They built a large warehouse, which is currently being used as their facilities business. And so there's an office in there for their facilities manager, and they park their trucks inside the garage. It's a 3-car large kind of a warehouse.
Thank you for the description.
Councilor Clem.
Hi, Cheryl. Hey, thanks for coming down. Regardless of what happens land use wise, the parking issue really is an issue, isn't it? In that whole area. Councilor Bennett and I talked about it earlier today, and some of the local businesses are very concerned that the employee parking and client parking at Northwest Human Services is really spilling over into the neighborhood. Would you like to be part of that discussion as we sort of try to figure out what to do about it?
I would like to be part of any discussion.
Okay.
So yeah, again, though, I'm sort of getting the crash course in government here, figuring out how this works. And I was actually very encouraged to hear about the openings on the the urban renewal. I might look into that, and hopefully I can carve some time away from my family to do that. But
Good.
if they're supportive of that, anyways, So yes, I do welcome being a part of any discussion related to the place I've called home for 12 years now. So.
All righty, thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for coming down. Are there any other questions from counselors? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Jerry Ribeiro? Welcome. Yes, and just state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. At the end of 2 minutes, the amber light comes on. At the end of 3 minutes, the red light comes on.
Okay. My name is Jerry Ribeiro. I own the property at 470 Kingwood Avenue Northwest in West Salem. It's a rental property. It's beyond the 250 feet for notification, so I wasn't aware of any request for zone change until Cheryl had notified me, excuse me, and I was at the October 21st hearing and opposed it at that time too. My concern is the parking, bleeds over into even the 2 blocks in front of the rental property that I have, and I'd like to be a part of any kind of discussion of any parking restriction or anything like that. It does affect, my tenants, and it affects property values, and Cheryl's property value in particular will be extremely affected because she's, potentially, if it's the commercial retail, has a 0 lot line, potential to build on 2 of her sides of her property. And, I think the clinic had plenty of opportunity to purchase the gas station that was on the corner of Edgewater and Rosemont, and that's already zoned commercial. It had a building on it that they could have done their billing or whatever services they were going to provide in there. They didn't need, in my estimation, to gobble up some residential properties just to add to their, the appearance to the city council of, having a larger parcel to change zoning. One little parcel, the insurance property, that is functioning just fine as far as they've stated, with the residential variance, should be no different for the other 2 properties. It just seems like such a drastic thing. And I would ask that the city council reconsider just automatically approving this. And I know that the time for the appeal is passed, and like Cheryl said, why should the people have to pay to appeal something? We should have that right automatically, and not have to pay $260 to probably just hear somebody say, sorry, we're going to go with it anyway. But anyway, I would just ask that they table it at least until they have more public hearing, opportunity from the gentleman that wrote the note and Cheryl and other property owners that are further away from just that corner. So that's all.
Okay. Thank you. Are there questions? Councilor Benars?
Just going through the notes myself, it's a 0 to 10 foot, 0 minimum, 10 foot maximum setback, but it's only along 2nd Street. It's not between the property and adjoining property, if I've got that right.
I think if you're commercial office, that's probably correct, but commercial retail, I think, has a zero setback on any side.
I would have to defer to staff. I don't know, but what the staff report says here, one of the conditions says 0 to 10 feet, or 10 feet only on 2nd Street, setback from 2nd Street. I just wanted to make sure. I don't know, but it looks like it's just along the street, not to the adjoining property. So it's not normal to have it to an adjoining property if there is a 0 setback. It's unusual.
You're saying that there would be a different, some sort of 10-foot setback, say, between Cheryl's property.
Can I ask that now? Could staff possibly clarify this, please?
Glenn Gross, I'm the Community Development Director. There would be a setback. I'd ask Lisa Anderson-Ogilvie to come up and speak to that specifically, as what that requirement would be.
And you're talking about the setback between the properties, not the setback between the street and the
Correct.
property? Correct. Okay.
Yes, good evening, Lisa Anderson Ogilvie, Urban Planning Administrator. The setback, we have a zone-to-zone setback, so between a commercial retail zone and a single-family zone, there's a 15-foot setback with landscaping required. And you're right, the condition is only for new development along Second Street, so we're limiting the setback so that any parking would be behind, trying to follow the action plan, and that Second Street would be a mixed-use corridor, and the buildings would be up closer, it would be pedestrian-friendly, is the intent of that condition.
Okay, I'm hoping that that information will help. I mean, there's a lot of I don't know kind of thing because you're obviously new to, and I'm trying to help you a little bit and say really will be a setback then.
Well, a setback, even a 15-foot setback between Cheryl's lot line and a building, there already is a building that I'm sure probably met some sort of setbacks that blocks the sun and, you know, it's not an eyesore in the sense that it's, you know, ugly, but it's just a blank wall for her to look out at, where, you know, when she purchased the property, I'm sure she purchased it because the insurance company had a large grass area there, you know, that was attractive to look out at. So, you know, all that changes with these zone changes. And, you know, she has more right than anybody in the whole area to have a voice, because she's affected on two sides, you know. And I don't know if the setbacks are also the same for, like, if they made the backyard of the, is it 1257, I think it's 1257 2nd Street, the middle one goes all the way back to the behind her whole lot. And so if they made like a parking area back there, you know, they got people coming in and around her backyard fence, and, you know, they've already had the fence knocked down by a vehicle, you know, already. So, you know, I just think that it should be something that you really need to talk to her, because she's the most affected. And whatever other people back to 1257 and 1255 2nd Street, those three people are the greatest affected. And nobody's listening to them. So, I mean, I may be affected further down the road with, you know, parking difficulties and stuff like that, but my property's 2 blocks away. So it's not affected yet, and wouldn't be affected in a visual sense. It's just more an overflow.
Well, you are being heard at this point, so we'll pass the message on.
Okay,
Thank you.
Councilor Bennett, did you have a question? No, you're okay. All right. All right, thank you. That concludes those who were signed up for public testimony. All right, it's now time to move to the consent calendar. Councilor Bennett, do you have a motion?
I do, Madam Mayor. I move the consent calendar with the following polls: 3.2B and C by Councilor Clausen, and, let's see, excuse me just a sec, 3.3B by Bennett.
3.3B?
Yes.
By whom?
Bennett.
Oh, Bennett. All right, thank you.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor Bennett and seconded by Councilor Benars to move the consent calendar for adoption, with the exception of item 3.2B and item 3.2C being pulled by Councilor Clausen, and item 3.3B being pulled by Councilor Bennett. All those in favor of the motion? Oh, I'm sorry. Councilor Bennett.
Again, I would like to abstain from the approving of the minutes from the October 27th meeting. I missed so many, or so few, I should say, so few council meetings, but I just want to make sure I can't vote on it because I wasn't here.
Okay. All right, thank you. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, with Councilor Benard's abstaining from the motion. All right, we have a public hearing before us. Would the recorder please introduce the public hearing?
The City Council will now hold a public hearing for the purpose of considering adoption of Resolution Number 2014-70, authorizing the use of proceeds of the General Obligation 2006 Fire Bond to purchase, or to fund the purchase of emergency response vehicles and equipment and complete construction projects at fire stations.
Thank you very much. And I believe we have a report from the fire chief. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you, Madam Mayor
Thank you.
and councilors. I just want to give a shout out to my father, who was a 20-year veteran of the Air Force and turned 80 this year. He was a Vietnam era veteran, and so I was raised an Air Force brat, so I had a lot of good memories on the Air Force bases. So.
Very nice.
So this evening, we're here to give you a very brief presentation with regards to the remaining bond dollars that we have from our 2006 general fire obligation bond. Where's my next? There we go. So just as a bit of background, in 2006, the citizens approved a fire obligation bond for $24,719,000 for the purposes of fire fleet replacement, new station construction, station replacement, and seismic upgrades for the fire department. In 2013, after all those projects had been completed, we adjusted two higher priority projects that required bond funding. One of those was the removal and remediation of a diesel fuel underground storage fuel tank at Station 1. And the second one was the replacement of 27 cardiac defibrillators. And we came to council on the 13th of October last year, requested approval for bond funds to replace those cardiac defibrillators. And that project has also been completed. And that was actually completed for less than $800,000, I think $769,000. So this evening, we're here requesting to use the remaining bond funds of approximately $219,000 to purchase emergency response vehicles and to complete some construction projects that were of the lower priority of the other two projects I just mentioned. So that list of projects is before you on the screen right now, and it's in priority from top to bottom. And I'll just briefly touch on those. The driveway expansion and drill ground parking area rehabilitation at Station 6. This is our airport fire station, and the pavement out there has begun to, I think the term is alligator and crack. And if we reseal that now, we're likely to get 4 to 7 more years of life out of that asphalt before we have to repave it. It's much cheaper to reseal and rehabilitate that than it is to tear everything up and repave. So that's our first priority. Also, the driveway is pretty narrow out there when you're pulling a 50-foot ladder truck into that driveway. With the traffic on that street, the speed limit's 45 miles an hour along that street. That can get pretty tricky. So we're going to widen that driveway, and then we're going to do some mitigation of the flooding that occurs along that street. So there'll be some floodwater removal, some drains put in on that project, so it'll be a much safer driveway. Also, we're going to change the transition of the driveway a little bit so it's a little less steep coming in and out of the street. So that's the first project. The second project is some remaining facility upgrades at stations 2, 3, and 4, and I won't bore you with all the details on that. One thing I will mention is in most of our stations, we have replaced the turnout storage facilities. They were old wooden lockers, and you can imagine if you put a wet pair of firefighting gear in a wooden locker, there's not a lot of ventilation in there, and you get mold and mildew, and it's not the best way to take care of your bunker gear. So what we're proposing there is to put some metal perforated lockers, which are designed for proper ventilation of the protective gear. It'll dry out faster. We'll get more service life out of it because it'll be better protected and better ready for the firefighters to use their next shift. And then the last two items are a pickup truck, which is used at our training facility, that was not on the bond, not included on the bond originally. It's a 13-year-old vehicle, and it's in need of being replaced. And we use it for towing trailers to state conflagration fires, towing our education, fire education trailer to events, and then generally moving equipment around for the department. And then finally, the rescue boat and trailer is the boat we have now is 9 years old and is getting towards the end of its service life. And that boat and trailer would be moved to a reserve capacity with this purchase. Now, I say that these are in order. There's probably more projects on this list than we have money to spend, and so we would go top to bottom on this list. The likelihood that we will have some dollars left over to put towards a boat and trailer is there, but probably not enough to purchase it. But I don't want to waste any more of your time having to come before you and ask for the last $3,000 what we would do with that. So that's kind of where we're at with this. City did due diligence on this. We checked with bond counsel on the appropriateness of spending these dollars, and bond counsel determined that there was 3 criteria that need to be met. We believe we've met all 3 of those criteria, and so this evening we're requesting approval for the remaining bond dollars proceeds to be for the projects identified before you, and to be completed in the order of priority as scheduling allows and funding is available. And the reason I say that is we can't pave Station 6 until the weather is good, but we may start on some of the other projects this winter. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you very much. Let's see if we have anyone signed up to testify for this hearing. I don't see anyone signed up. And so I will close this public hearing, or do we do questions first and then we close the hearing? All right, are there questions for Chief Niblock? No questions. Councilor Nanke.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Followed by Councilor Bednarz, all right?
Just curious, I mean, we'll get to a point where there's a little bit of some money left then. Would it be the intent of the fire department in their subsequent budgeting to try to finish something with it, or?
Well, if, for example, if you do the math on the estimates that we've got on these projects, we get all the way down to the pickup truck, and part of that's going to be replaced with fleet. The fleet replacement doesn't cover quite the cost of the whole pickup, so that'd be supplemented. We're about, I think, $4,600 short of completing that purchase, so there probably wouldn't be any money to go towards the boat. If we had money left over, we would earmark that for one of these projects and then do additional capital purchase in a future budget year to replace it.
Okay, thanks.
Councilor Clem.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Chief, thanks for the presentation. Just want to clarify, Station 6 is really your training center.
That's correct.
So we're talking not just about making it nicer to park my car. Explain what we're spending money on and why it's important, please.
It is our training ground, as you pointed out. We've got a drill tower out there. We have a draft pumping pit that we pump test our apparatus every year. It's a very large parking lot. It's large enough to drive fire trucks around on stage and do hose relays and those types of drills. It's also where we keep our ARF, our Airport Rescue Firefighting Vehicles, and they're pretty large vehicles if you've ever seen them. It's large areas to maneuver around. So it is a parking lot, but it is also our drill ground. So it does get heavy usage. Ladder trucks are 75,000 pounds, so they're big vehicles driving around on that pavement. So it gets a fair amount of wear and tear, and a lot of vehicles driving in and out of there every day.
I believe Councilor Bednarz, did you have your hand up? No? Okay, thank you. All right, any other questions, comments? All right, hearing none, we will close the hearing. Councilor Bennett, do you have a motion?
I do, Madam Mayor. I move the staff recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor Bennett and seconded by Councilor Bednarz to move the staff recommendation. Is there discussion? Councilor Clem.
I just want to take this opportunity again to thank the voters for supporting the fire bond. We have a lot of needs, but I think it's just another reminder that we're spending money that the voters voted on and approved. So I think this is great that we spent it, but I think we're using it in the wisest manner, and so I appreciate the voters' confidence, City of Salem.
Thank you. Other comments, questions? All right, we'll call for the motion, call for the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, special orders of business tonight will be the items pulled from the consent calendar. And I'm going to start with item 3.2B, Counselor Clausen, do you have a motion?
I do, Madam Mayor. I'd move staff recommendation.
It's been moved by Counselor Clausen and seconded by Counselor Nanki to move the staff recommendation.
Councillor Clausen, did you have an announcement?
Oh,
Yeah, I thought I did
discussion.
that during the discussion. Do I do that before or after the motion?
Do it now.
Okay,
Okay,
sorry, I
do
was
it
going to do
now.
it during discussion. That's the reason I pulled it, was I needed the discussion.
Okay.
I'm a part owner of Thomas K. Flooring and Interiors. We're a business located on Pence Loop, which is very near in proximity to this 22nd Street. I needed to disclose that, I feel like, just in case. I'm not a property owner. I have no interest out there for any property, but I feel like I can vote on this and needed to disclose that.
That disclosure would apply to 3.2C as well?
Correct. If I can just do that right now, I'll do that. So that's the reason I pulled B and C.
All right, fine, thank you. And did you say you will not be voting on those items?
I feel like I can vote on this.
You can vote on
Since I
them.
have no property interest in this, it's just, I'm located in proximity to
Right.
that area. If anything, it might save me a minute or two on my commute to work.
We can all hope for savings on our commutes. Fine, thank you. All right. So you had a motion,
Staff recommendation.
and who seconded that? Counselor Nanki did. All right. The question on the floor, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right.
We still did pull
And-
C, and so I have to-
We have,
You want me to make T?
well, he covered that.
Okay.
And our next one is, oh, we do, I thought you did B and C together. All right.
We
All right,
just
we'll
made the
do-
motion on B.
All right, we'll do 3.2C. You have a motion for that?
I'll let Laura make it.
All right.
Counselor Tessler, sorry.
Well then, I will move staff recommendation.
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Counselor Tessler and seconded by Counselor Bednarz to move the staff recommendation on item 3.2C. Is there discussion? Counselor Tessler.
Yes, I have a couple of comments. I will address sort of overarching. First of all, I think this is an excellent idea. This intersection needs attention. This area needs attention. I think this is, I love the fact that NORPAC put their cold storage facility in there. I mean, that has just been a big boost to that area. Unfortunately, we really need to fix the intersection now, because when you make a left-hand turn lane now, the traffic backs up all the way to the railroad tracks at times, and you cannot, it's only one lane, so you cannot get through there. Kind of dangerous, no bike lane, pedestrian. So one thing, I know I always say this, and people are tired of me saying it, but I've got to say it before I leave again, is that it would be really nice if there was a traffic circle there. Because it appears to me that there might be enough room to do a traffic circle there. And I think a traffic circle would be a perfect solution to the way that I'm not a traffic engineer, but I see how people come in there. And I think that might be really helpful to route people through that area. So it's kind of scary now, because when people come off 25th Street, they're turning right, they don't have to stop. And I think people that are not from here do not realize that when you're making a left-hand turn, those people don't have to stop. And so you get a lot of people confused as to what to do. And yeah, so I really support this, and I support putting the street through, because I think that will help circulation in that area as well. So I think this, I really want to see this come to fruition. I think this is going to be very, very helpful there.
Thank you. I did see our Public Works Director, Peter Fernandez, reach for his microphone.
Thank you, Mayor. If I may, we did look, it is not going to be a traffic circle. The way this lays out, actually, Madrona will become a through street onto 25th, and then 25th will tee into, from the south side, will tee into Madrona. But I will say that we did think about doing a traffic circle there. So it was a very well-considered option, and we did not go forward with it for a couple of reasons. First, one of the forks of Pringle Creek goes under the street, and it goes under at a diagonal, so the box culvert that we have to put underneath there is already gigantic, and we couldn't make it work with a circle. There's also a tremendous amount, and then we have the airport on the other side, and we were trying to limit the amount of right-of-way that we would have to take from the airport property to create the roundabout. The other issue was there's a tremendous amount of truck traffic, so then the circle then had to be a lot bigger. But I want to assure Councilor Tessler and the rest of the council that we did think about it, we did look at it, and we couldn't make it work here. So, but it is something that we think about at every major intersection. Is it feasible and possible to do a roundabout? Because we do want to. We don't have one in Salem. We're like Mark Bechtel tells me, we're probably the last community in the world that doesn't have a roundabout. So we need to relieve that shameful situation that that we're in. If I have a second, if you'll give me a second, Mayor, I want to discuss this project just a little bit because I know in talking to some councilors, there's some confusion about what's going on out here. The south side of of Madrona, what I'll call the south side of Madrona Avenue, is already completed. When NORPAC and Henningsen did their projects, they were required to do their improvement. So that improvement is done. It is essentially the first phase of the improvement. There was also a sewer project that was done on the north side of the street. That was a private project to provide sewer capacity to the Miller property that's on the northwest corner of Madrona and 25th. That project is now complete. This staff report that you're approving tonight is the right-of-way acquisition staff report, so design is complete. This sends us into right-of-way acquisition as we complete our permits, and we expect to be under construction once all the right-of-way is acquired, and then we will have 2 lanes in each direction and a middle left turn lane from the railroad all the way around the corner and onto 25th. And the project does include quiet zone improvements for that railroad crossing, so we'll be able to apply to extend the quiet zone at least to that one crossing. So the 22nd Avenue extension, we had hoped to have enough money in this project to build 22nd Avenue extension. That gigantic culvert that I talked about earlier and other stormwater improvements are eating up a lot more of the budget than we had anticipated. Depending on how the bids come in, we may be able to construct 22nd. The project, the staff report that you previously approved, 3.2B, provides funding to design and acquire all of the right-of-way for it. So at a minimum, it'll be designed and the right-of-way will be fully acquired. Worst comes to worst, what we're looking at is some additional TSDC funding, I think 2 years from now, to be able to construct the project. So it will come soon, either with this project or shortly thereafter. So I just wanted to kind of lay out the groundwork because there's been some questions about how this project is going. We have yet to do anything out here. Everything that's been done has been private development.
Okay. Thank you. Councilor Clausen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to be proper and cross the Ts, again, I need to disclose that I'm a part owner of a property, or of a business, Thomas K. Flooring and Interiors, in the proximity, but no ownership interest in any property affected by this.
Okay.
But I do plan to vote still.
Good. Thank you. And I want to thank Peter Fernandez and Public Works and I know your vision for 22nd Street and Madrona will greatly add to the movement of vehicular traffic, and it's going to be certainly a blessing to those businesses that are there and that have recently located there. I really appreciate that you keep that kind of at the front of your list, and I know you have. I'm always, of course, hoping for McGilchrist to come to the front of somebody's list at some point. We can always hope. I do wonder if, and I know I'll be asked this question, is there any money that might come from Streets and Bridges bond measure that we could apply toward that work on, I think it was 22nd that you said may have to wait a while?
Yeah, we are, thank you, Mayor. We are fully allocated at this point. Streets and Bridges is paying for Madrona and 25th, so that's paying for that money, or for this project. We think because the money's fully allocated, we still anticipate some savings after the savings projects, the first round of savings projects are done. We think we can bring 22nd Avenue to fruition faster using TSDC. Because okay. Since it's a new street, an expansion to collector, it's fully eligible. So council already having approved 3.2B tonight, we'll be able to move forward, or we can get lucky with a good bid and be able to move it forward with this project. We just want to be certain that we'll be able to.
Great, thank you. big improvements out there. That's wonderful. Councilor Nanki, did you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. And Director Fernandez and I talked about this one a couple times. I had a gentleman concerned about the cut for that sewer line and some of the striping and what have you. When we actually redo the box culvert and make the curve, Madrona, will we repave over that again? Or top it?
It will certainly get one final lift over everything, yes. So what you see out there, even the part that Norpac Henningsen has done is not the final lift of asphalt.
And will that go all the way back to the tracks then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the whole thing, the whole project will be repaved, and that's from the tracks around the corner and onto 25th.
Just to get that out on the floor?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Councilor Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Fernandez, I do want to remind you, we have a couple of roundabouts at Hood and Cottage and Winter that if they were structured correctly, could actually operate as small vehicle roundabouts.
So those are neighbor, just to have the terminology correct, little traffic engineering 101. Those are neighborhood traffic circles. Very popular in the 80s and 90s for neighborhood and traffic intrusion. Those are not modern roundabouts.
They actually, Mr. Fernandez, I don't want to argue with you too long, but if you would knock those things down, put a smaller mound there instead of the overgrown, you actually can use those as a classic small vehicle, small roundabout. And I'd just be, if you really are desperate to get some, there's a spot for you.
For smart cars.
Yes, this is for particularly small cars. All right. All right, I believe we have a motion on the floor. We have a question on the floor. All those in favor of the motion, which was to adopt staff recommendation for 3.2C, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. We have action item 3.3B, and Councilor Bennett, do you have a motion? I believe you pulled that.
I do, Madam Mayor. I move the staff recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor Bennett and seconded by Councilor Benars to move the staff recommendation. Is there discussion, Councilor Bennett?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I just pulled it. I was really pleased to see this show up and to understand exactly what it's about. This is something the top board has talked about for a number of years, is serving as kind of an event incubator and putting out small grants for people who have a really great idea for an event but need some help. And this is the kind of thing, I think, when we talk about vitality in the community, we know that there's a batch of larger events and some smaller ones that really make a tremendous difference in the always sort of, I think, answerable, but others think not, I guess, question of what's there to do tonight in Salem. And I think this is just great. I really look forward to a report from the top board on how this goes, what comes out of it, how it works, what kind of new events do we have going on. Does it reflect an increase in diversity in terms of our community demographics? What's going on with this? I think this is just really great. I'm glad to see them do this.
Yeah. Wonderful. All right. And your motion then is?
To approve staff recommendation.
To approve staff recommendation. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of the item, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. We have no unfinished business this evening. I draw your attention to the information reports, which are on your agenda, two of which I believe, or one of which we have already discussed. Does anyone have any questions or comments regarding the information reports? Okay. I also see at my place two futures reports. And I just want to draw your attention, I'm assuming everyone received those. One is the amendment to Salem Revised Code Chapter 50 on property maintenance. And the other one is the item prohibiting smoking on sidewalks and landscape strips. within the public street rights-of-way or easement adjacent to the properties where outdoor smoking is prohibited. So I draw your attention to those two items. They will be on the council agenda for next Monday, November 17th. All right, we have ordinances. Would the recorder please introduce the ordinance 8.1A for first reading?
Ordinance Bill Number 2614 relating to goats for clearing vegetation, amending Salem Revised Code Section 400.120.
All right. Councilor Bennett, do you have a motion?
I do, Madam Mayor. I move the staff recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor Bennett and seconded by Councilor Tesler to move the staff recommendation on item 8.1A, amending the Salem Revised Code to allow goats for targeted grazing. Is there comment or discussion? Councilor Bennett?
Just very briefly, Madam Mayor, a couple of weeks ago I was watching, it's on Sunday evening, it's sort of Oregon Outback. I can't remember the outdoors. Is it Oregon Outdoors?
Yeah.
They had a goat, a shepherdess with her goats, operating in the city of Eugene, and has been doing a great deal of work there, and it was really very interesting. And actually, they were working right up against the eWeb building doing some blackberry clearing, and the whole discussion, it's about a 10 or 15 minute item, and it was really quite good. For those of you who have nothing to do on Sunday nights, you can spend it my way.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, Councilor Tesler.
Thank you. I would really like to thank staff for getting on this quickly and working on this, because I asked for this. And I'm really, really happy to see this before us tonight, because it seems like not a big thing, but this is really a big thing. And it's something that the city itself can use on Mitchell Brown Island. Getting rid of invasives is very, very expensive and time consuming. And if you do not want to use a lot of herbicides, goats are a very good choice for that. And I really look forward to the city using goats as a tool, because they can be a really helpful tool. And, you know, people really like to see goats when they're out working and doing their thing. They're very, I don't know what it is. In Portland, if you see them in an empty lot, you are drawn to them. You want to go over there and look at them. It's very relaxing. Maybe I should get a goat. But anyway,
We should all go.
I really think this is a very good thing for everyone, and thanks again to staff for doing such a good job turning stuff around like this. I really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you for your support too, fellow councilmen.
All right, further comments? Councilor Nanke.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I usually look through the fence to see if I can see some goats so that I could be excited. But my neighbor just doesn't have any. That is very bad.
Yes.
The original request for this, at least that I heard of, was out of the Pringle Creek community on the Fairview property. I did note in staff's report that there was discussion on, depending on the invasive, sheep or alpaca, but they made a point to say they weren't including that. Is that something that we should actually look at, or as far as advantages and disadvantages?
Well, I'm sure the staff person that did the research can speak to this much more intelligently than me, but we thought we'd start with goats and see how that works out.
Okay.
And if we need to expand it, we certainly could come back to council with that.
All right, yeah, because it was a good report, you know, the pluses and minuses, as far as being carbon neutral, having to drive the animals back and forth instead. It's how people want to necessarily deal with their invasives, and you know, it sounds like they're pretty much even, and you want a guy dude out there with a weed whacker, or if you want a goat wandering around. So there's the noise issue potentially as well. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I did like the Eugene issues with pot-bellied pigs and the miniature goats and the rabbits, because technically we can't allow rabbits. Is that correct? You can't have rabbits in a box in your backyard in the city of Salem.
I don't know offhand. We'll have to come back to you with
Okay. I thought we had a big discussion on that as we started into chickens originally.
I see hands in the air. I know that Councillor Bednar's had his hand up, and then Councillor Clem.
Time consumption may not be necessarily a bad thing when the people who are doing the cutting of the weeds have nothing but time on their hands at that point. Those that we have from the correction agencies spend their time out there earning money and paying back to the community. I wanted just some clarification from staff. This first reading would bring this up for a public hearing and nothing more at this point. So if I vote in favor, that's where we're headed.
correct. The motion is, or the staff recommendation is to schedule this for a public hearing on December 1st.
Okay, so I want to qualify this. There's two of us on this council that have chickens. I understand that. I also understand the controversy that it arose from using animals of such. Not that we're talking about for domestic use at all, but we're talking for commercial purposes. I just hate traveling down this road, but I probably will vote in favor of this motion, this particular thing, because I want to see it come through for public hearing at this point.
Councillor Clem.
Yes, it's just a reminder, we're voting on a public hearing, and that's all we're doing tonight. Okay.
Right, thank you. All right, further discussion? All right, the question before us is to, thank you, to set the public hearing for December 1st, 2014. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. And we have a second reading. Would the recorder please announce or introduce the second reading and take the roll call vote?
Ordinance Bill Number 24-14, amending Salem Revised Code, Section 47.097, to increase the solid waste management franchise fee from 5% to 7% of the gross receipts collected each year by franchisees.
Thank you.
Councillor Bednarz?
Okay.
Councillor Clem?
Yes.
Councillor Bennett?
Aye.
Councillor Tessler?
Aye.
Councillor Nanke?
Nay.
Councillor Clausen?
Aye.
Mayor Peterson?
Aye. All right. Thank you. Motion carries. All right, do we have anyone signed up for public comment this evening? Oh, did I already give that back to you? Oh, okay. All right, we have no public comment. And under new business, I have a mayor's item, which I would like to introduce and move for the recommendation to adjust the city manager's salary. And my report is that City Council had met in executive session on July 24th, 2014 to review the city manager's performance and develop issues to discuss with the city manager, and members of the council subsequently met with the city manager individually to discuss performance evaluation. Pursuant to council policy A-6, at least 30 days after the council conducted the evaluation, any member of the council could make a recommendation concerning the city manager's salary to the council. And I bring this recommendation that we shall adjust the city manager's salary and compensation for fiscal years 2014-15 and 2015-16. And you'll see under the recommendation, my recommendation is as follows: 5% salary increase retroactive to July 1, 2014 to June 30th, 2015. 5% salary increase effective July 1, 2015 to June 30th, 2016. An annual cost of living adjustment beginning July 1st, 2015 in the same amount that other non-represented employees receive, and increase in an annual auto allowance from $4,200 to $6,000 retroactive to July 1st, 2014. And I'd like to take this opportunity, oh, excuse me, that's my motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Clem. I'd like to take this opportunity to say that I appreciated the council's diligent work as we were going through the process of evaluating our city manager, Linda Norris, and I appreciated their very careful and thoughtful recommendation, and I'm very happy to make this recommendation, bring this to council, because I truly do believe that our city manager has been doing an exemplary job and unfortunately for several years did not receive a salary adjustment, and I do think it's high time that we attend to that. I'm very pleased to say that many benchmarks have been met and exceeded in the last few years by our city manager, Linda Norris. Among them, our bond rating has increased to AA, as well as the fact that I think we've been able to really hold our city budget as an exemplary budget. We've been very careful in forecasting through her leadership and guidance, and we find ourselves to be a fiscally sound and solid city. And the other thing is that I'm very impressed with the way our city employees are managing their time and their attention and their work. And I believe that that attitude starts at the top, and we see that every day in the city of Salem. So that's my motion, and I'm pleased that I received a second from Councillor Clem. Is there further discussion from council? Councillor Tessler.
Yes, it's, well, first of all, Linda, you deserve every penny and more. You have been a sensational city manager, and I've been here underneath 2 city managers, and I can't really commend you more highly. You're also a personal example to me of leadership, and I have just seen you in very, very tense situations, just so worth every penny. Super happy with your performance. I'm sad I won't get to work with you anymore, but I couldn't recommend any. I mean, I wish I could pay you twice this, to be honest with you, but you have just been A+.
Thank you, Councillor Tessler. That means a lot to me.
Councillor Clem.
Yes, I would echo Councillor Tessler's comments. We're solid because of great staff, but a great leader, and that's a big part of that staff. Folks who are watching this and trying to understand the raises in the context of our city manager deserves to be paid what other city managers, particularly with cities who have fewer employees or smaller cities. So in terms of comparables, we're doing the same thing any person would do with their home price or their own salary, and that is keep them comparable, at least with the market. So I'm very pleased that after these adjustments, if passed by council, that our city manager will be paid not what she's worth, but at least comparable to what other cities make. And then it's been a number of years since Linda's salary has not been keeping up with inflation. And so at the end of the period that we're voting on here, if you were to examine what would it have been like had we done timely raises when they should have been done, you'd see that the dollar amount pretty much comes out about the same. So sorry it took so long. But that explains why the percentages are what they are. But I don't want to talk about Linda as though she's leaving. I want this to be a guarantee that she's not going anywhere. So thank you, Linda, for great service.
Oh, thank you, Councillor.
Yes, Councillor Nanke.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, and I know Linda's been cautious based on budget numbers previously and essentially has turned down increases. So 5 and a 5, I got one call today from a disgruntled citizen talking about the percentages, and I can see that we need to actually, regardless of our budgetary position, maintain that gap between our senior executive and those behind to where we're not coming up into that compression, and so you don't see these larger. It's on par with the rest. And so I just like to say that, and this still, as far as on par with our comparable cities, is slightly under, but yeah, we run into troubles as a city all the time when we make big jumps, and we see that with water sewer rate increases, that we need to be on, those slopes, because we do have collective bargaining, and that pushes from the bottom, and so everybody has to kind of move in the same, or you have people passing other people, and it gets really complicated. So we need to stay on top of it as well. But great job as well, since we don't typically have an opportunity to speak to your evaluation on the floor anywhere, and so timely to bring that up with the salary modification. So thank you
very much. Thank you.
It is true, and I will say that as we met as a council, that we all really pledged that we're going to not let so much time lapse, and we'll be more timely in the future. I want to say one other thing, and that is that I'm out in the community a lot, and one of the things I consistently hear is that the people out in the community know who our city manager is, and they are very, very pleased with the work that our city manager is doing. And I think that's an important part of your role that maybe many people don't really realize. They may think that the city manager just stays here on the civic campus all the time. That's not the case at all. And I see her at meeting after meeting at night, and out in the community on the weekends at civic events and community events. And I know as mayor, I really appreciate that too, because I know that that gives the confidence from the community that our city manager is in touch and is available and is listening to them too. And so I really praise you for your accessibility out in the community.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, we have no counselor items. And so,
Mayor?
Yes, Counselor Clem.
I'm sorry, I just can't let the whole evening go by without introducing
Yes.
one of the newest elected council members in the city of Kaiser. Over here is Amy Ripp.
Yes, hello, welcome. We're glad you're here visiting us today. Thank you.
Yeah, Amy's here, I think, to just learn.
All right.
That's dedication.
That is
great.
dedication, and we hope that we will all become familiar faces to one another. Appreciate you taking time to come over. We have fond feelings for Kaiser, and we work well with the city of Kaiser, and we'll pledge ourselves to continue doing that. Thank you. All right, Councilor Tessler.
I have one more item.
Okay.
Last Thursday, I passed my dive master exam. I am now a dive master, certified PADI Association dive master, which was a big deal because it was a lot of internships and a lot of helping with classes and those types of things. So now I am the highest level of certification before becoming an instructor in diving. So something I've been working on for 8 months, and I finally got it, and I am certified. So
Well, congratulations. That's wonderful. We are proud of the work that you've done. That's very hard and very intense, I'm sure, but it's a wonderful skill that you've gained, as well as now that you're looking forward. I know you're with great anticipation, and you'll be diving more maybe and meeting less.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Meeting new fish.
Yes.
And you'll be meeting with the fish instead of meeting with us.
I have a quorum with the rockfish.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.